Pat McAfee, AJ Hawk here together on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think of Tom Brady, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Patrick? What do you think of that idea?
You know what, Rich? I've been watching you since I was like 4 or 5 years old. And ever since I've watched you cover the NFL, I know that there's always a couple different ways to look at things and perspective. And I think the way to look at this particular move is it's not the sexiest pick. I don't think Tampa Bay is the sexiest pick. Nobody thought Tampa Tommy was going to be the move, and nobody thought a city like Tampa Bay would be the one that would land the greatest of all time for his first time in free agency in 20 years. But if you start looking at the pieces of the puzzle down there, the picture starts coming a lot more clear because Bruce Arians is not only handing over roster control, and he's an OG surrounded by a bunch of old coaches who've been there, done that with everything, but you got Godwin, you got Mike Evans, everybody's saying Antonio Brown is tied at the hip with Tom Brady. You bring him down to Tampa, and that Todd Bowles defense that went from 32 to 5 last year, all of a sudden you're talking about a real contender. Now, I think the Patriots will be a good football team because Belichick won't allow them to completely suck. But I think they're much more in a rebuilding phase than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in a potential win-it-now phase. And that's why you bring in the handsome-ass Tom Brady. And I'm not sure how A.J. Hawk feels, but that's how I feel about the whole thing.
A.J.?
Well, no, so, Rich, I have a question for you. It seems like it was between Tampa Bay and the L.A. Chargers for Tom Brady. That's what it seemed like, the two likely candidates. Why do you think he chose Tampa, aside from the massive weapons he has on offense and potentially bringing in Antonio Brown?
I mean, if I had to ballpark it, other than the geographic soundness of being on the East Coast based on his family situation, I think the big answer would be, you look at Los Angeles, and if they are geographically unsound, that's number one. But then number two, with all due respect, and we say that around here, fully well aware that what's about to come next is somewhat disrespectful, but we feel that we have immunized ourselves to sounding disrespectful. Bruce Arians is the difference. I mean, B.A. is one of the best humans I've ever come across. Anthony Lynn is a great human as well. But Bruce Arians has all that experience in talking to quarterbacks and has all that experience with Tom Moore, who Brady knows from Peyton Manning is such a resource. And then you plug Evans and Godwin into it. You tack on no state tax, and you got yourself a winner.
I think, Rich, I think you're 100% accurate in that statement. The no-state tax is going to go a long way, too, in every single decision between Florida and California. But I think when Peyton and Tom Brady, their friendship has really started to blossom. On Peyton's places, they were golfing in Jim Nance's backyard. I mean,
right.
I think Peyton told Tom what life was like for Peyton in the NFL. Like, hey, if I wanted a guy cut, I could get a guy cut. If I wanted to do this, I could do this. And Tom Brady realized that 20 years into this thing, he had literally no control over a lot of things that a lot of other great and iconic quarterbacks have had control over. And I think Peyton probably said, like, hey, B.A. is a good guy to be around, especially at this stage. He understands that you guys are going to work together. Clyde Christensen, the quarterback coach, is one of Peyton's favorite humans. I mean, I think Peyton Manning might have had a little bit more say in this entire decision than people could imagine. But I think whenever you start looking at it, it feels like it's the right decision. And I'm not 100% sure the media people love it because Tampa isn't like, it's Tampa. It's not like Miami or Boston or New York or L.A. But I feel like they're going to really do some damage down there. And I think and when the stories come out, I think Peyton is potentially going to be a part of the conversation piece for Tom Brady.
Well, I got to jump in here, Pat, and pull on that string a little bit. You got a good story of Peyton getting somebody cut?
So I don't know if I ever saw him actually cut somebody, but there was a couple times where in training camp a player would zig when they were clearly supposed to zag, and there would be some frustration from the sheriff, and then all of a sudden that guy just wasn't on the team the next day. And I don't know if that was... And I don't know if that was Peyton or if I didn't know if that was Bill Polian or the offensive people. But if Peyton wanted a guy on the field for something, that person was on the field for something. That's why you see him and his wide receivers have such great relationships, because for Peyton, he had to work very, very hard. So those reps in practice, they had to go very, very hard. And if Peyton wanted a curfew during the Super Bowl week, there was a curfew during the Super Bowl week. If Peyton wanted the practice to go longer, the practice would go longer. If Peyton wanted to do something in the weight room, that would happen. Was that what it was like in Green Bay with Aaron and them, AJ? Did Aaron have that type of power?
Well, I don't think anyone really had the power that Peyton had. Like, I don't know, maybe back in the day, but no, in Green Bay, I think it was Aaron has plenty of power, but I don't think he ever chose to really use it like that if he wanted. Like, if he wasn't, like you said, if someone zigged and they should have zagged, he's going to definitely coach his guys up, but it wasn't like he's going to get someone cut or I don't know if he had the power or not. If he really wanted to and he wanted to go into the GM's office and tell him, yeah, maybe it would happen. But I think Peyton, what you witnessed with Peyton Manning in Indianapolis was like an unprecedented level of power that a quarterback had that we're not really going to see moving forward.